Okay, what we're going to be doing now is we're working on, I've created inside your guys' IT General Resources under Notes, under GUI. You'll see there's a section GUI with working, and this is the idea of how to get your GUI to work with your working, and it's going to be a summation of everything that's happening beyond that. Now, the first thing I'm going to explain to you is the idea of the data that we've got in there, and we are doing this via a text file. Realize though that as far as your guys are concerned, you'll be doing it through a database, but you'll still have a storage system, so we'll still be looking at the same idea. As you read from your storage system, you then work from there, but this will help you also for your exam purposes. Now if we take a look at the data that we've got there, we've got a field slaughterhouse 2 400 and 1.5, and what that is literally meaning is there's different stalls on this farm. There's a slaughterhouse 2 of size 400, and it's got a fence height of 1.5. And in that slaughterhouse there is a Bob the baboon, Sheldon the tortoise. And then there's a greenhouse, and inside that there's Porky the pig, and Bacon the pig, and Frank the flamingo. And these are their weights that are there. Now, test tube 3 has a Stuart the mouse and Krusty the crab. So you see there's different number of animals in each store. And what I've already done inside, I've created a class, and inside that class there's an animal class with the name, type, weight, and here's the interesting thing. It's got a stall class with its home. So the home in which this, the stall in which this animal is kept. Now, to explain the rest of this program, we also got a stall class. The stall class has name, size, and fence height, as well as we've got the farm, which has an array of animals. Sorry, let me zoom in on this so you guys can see it. So, which has an array of animals as well as a array of stalls. Does this make sense? Callum, please pay attention to this. Now, so I've logically planned this out, and I've planned out, if you guys can take a look, okay, I need to put the webcam on. Let me just make this bigger. I've logically planned out, other way, a layout of how the frame is going to look. So on the left hand side I've got the stalls, sorry, animals on there, and the stalls over here. And then when you click on a stall, so when you click on a stall, it will show you the stall there, and only it will filter out, so only the animals from that stall are there, and it's got animals there.
Oh God.
Now, if you take a look at I've got a layout plan. We'll go out how to create this layout then inside our GUI later. But on from that, if we now minimize this.
Which is the real Mr. Brad?
Which one? Now, on from there, I've created a method called add animal. Now you'll notice add animal receives an instance of the stall and will receive the add stall across. So now the first thing I actually want to go into is how are you going to read from the text file and deal with this. So let's first just take a look at our text file here. How do we know when I'm adding an animal or when I'm adding a stall? What's the difference between an animal, so Bob the baboon 60, and the stall?
Space?
No, because technically, potentially an animal could have a space in it as well, but I like your thinking. And like a test tube, there might be a stall without a space. But yes, according to the example data, that's 100% correct. There's a space between these, whereas none of your animals actually have a space in them. So that's one way of identifying it. What other way could we distinguish between the stalls and the animals? Anybody?
Wait, can I just look at it?
100%. Second field is a number. So if you take a look at there, it goes text, number, float. Right? Now here, text, number, text, number. Text, number, float. So the second field is a numerical value when it is a stall.
How is one a float?
Well, because here we're referring to fence height, we're referring to fence height, we're referring to fence height, it has to be it's a float. Okay. Just because if one of them has, if one of those fields has a decimal place in it, we have to store it as a float because we have to be able to handle that decimal place. I mean, a float can still store. Yes, I could put 1.0 there, but
But it's not.
it didn't. Yeah. Now, in this case, we're going to now go back to our working class, and we're going to now deal with our. I just automatically put there throws exception. Your guys' choice if you want to put that there. Exception handles all forms of exception. So if the file doesn't exist, if it's there's an error in data type, blah blah blah, it will handle any type of exception.
When you throw a file.
When did you code this?
Last period I was off, so I quickly created a bit. So I actually prepared properly for this.
Prepared for this.
We continue this. I throw an exception here. Now when I throw an exception, I just say throws exception because I know that's going to handle everything, and it's a nice way of ensuring that anything that could go wrong will be handled. I'm going to have a try catch inside my GUI. Inside my GUI, where I actually initialize this, we'll have to catch it. Somewhere in my program, you always have to catch an exception. You can't just throw it inevitably. Something it has to handle it. The potato must be caught.
Hot potato.
Hot potato, throwing the potato, never mind, okay. Yeah, anyway, so what I'm going to start off by doing is I'm going to say, when we do it, we always just start off with file, f is equal to new file, and we'll then say from the string, I think it's farm.txt, okay? I'd have to maybe check the text file, yeah, the name is definitely farm.txt, yes, Carl?
Why don't you have an add?
So we've now going to create our scanner, so scanner scf is equal to new scanner, and because I already threw the exception, is this going to throw an error? Is this going to show me a red underline? No, because I've already thrown exceptions, so there's no worries. No worries, mate. And then now, while scanner.hasNext, while scf.hasNext, so this is going to loop through the thing, we are then just going to create our string record is equal to new, is equal to scf.next line. Now, what's the delimiter? Hashtag. Guys, realize I always use hashtags. It doesn't necessarily mean. Oh, sorry, semicolon. What do I have to do? I have to actually. I'm being silly. I'm sorry. SCR is equal to new scanner. Whoa! Put the volume off. Or I should put my mic off. One or the other. That's fine. I'll turn my mic off. Okay. Now.
You know it's impossible to speak normally if you're listening to yourself through headphones.
I did not know that. But anyway, as far as using the delimiter, you can also just code it on the same line, your guys' choice. I like doing it on the same line. Do you guys prefer separate lines or same line?
Separate lines, make it pretty.
Okay. SCR dot Control V. Alright, now on this card we know the first one, no matter what, is the name. It's either a name of a store or a name of the animal. Does this make sense? Now, so it's equal to SCR dot next. But now the next element could be either the size or it could be the size of the farm or the type of animal. So what we can potentially do now is create a variable called string size. I'm going to call it both because we don't know what it is yet, do we?
Yes.
It could be anything. So scr.next. Now I'm reading it in as a string. But now I need to determine whether it's an integer or not an integer. There might be even a method called integer.isInteger, but I don't know if there's something like that. There might be a method to check if it is. But I would simply do a try catch, and inside the try catch, I would just go int size is equal to integer.parsent, and then I would send through size type to that. And if that successfully works, we know it is a stall. If it doesn't successfully work, in other words it runs through the catch, we know it is an animal. So basically now I know the data type is this or the data type is that, and once I've got that data type I can determine whether it's a stall or an animal. Do you guys get this?
Yeah.
And in which case, so I've read the second thing into size type. If it read this, it will convert it to an integer and I need to add it as a. Does that make sense? If it reads a string, we know it's an animal, so we need to add it as an animal. Now, if it's a stall, we've got the size. What's the last variable we need? We need the height of the fence. So if you take a look at our stall has name, size, and fence of height, which is a float data type. So now we're reading in a float. So, sorry, I'm inside farm, this is where I should be. So now we're going to go float fence height is equal to,
Is float an actual thing?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Uh, floats deal with, it's a data type like an int, but the only difference is int is a whole number, floats is a decimal. Okay, so now we've got, so what we're going to do here is we're going to say scr dot next, and you'll notice there's a next float option because we're getting it as a float, and then we can just run add stall. Because remember we coded the add stall like you would code any of your other add methods to add to the array, so I don't need to go over that again, and I just run add stall method, and then it'll add it as a stall. You guys follow? Now the next process on this, if it's an animal, we now need to go and we still need to read in. We've already got the type, because this is obviously type, because it's a string. Do you guys get that? But now we need to get this, which is the weight. So now we need to go int weight is equal to scr dot next int, and that will get the weight. Now this is when I go add animal, because now we're ready to add the animal, you'll notice that it sends the last thing through as null. But what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to add the home of this animal, which is a stall. It's an instance of the stall. So which stall is this animal in? And if you look at the way, obviously if it was an exam or something, we would have stipulated it more directly in the question paper. But if we take a look at the text document, you'll see there it lists the name of the stall, and then it lists all animals inside the stall. So we know when we are at the animal, it's the previous stall. So all of those ones below were in the stall that we just added. Is that correct? Because the scanner is going to read that, add it as a stall. It's then going to read this animal in. Which stall is Bob in? Slaughterhouse 2. And which, probably, which stall is Porky in? He's in the greenhouse. Bacon, greenhouse. Frank, greenhouse. Stuart, test tube 3. So literally the one that was previously added to the other array is the stall in which that animal is in. So what we do here is instead of this, we say, we know we've got an array of stalls called stalls, fancy that.
So you're going to have num stalls.
Stalls from position num stalls minus 1. Why minus 1?
Because for reasons,
For reasons. Yeah. Remember when you add to an array. So if we have a whole bunch of different stalls. So if we add here the slaughterhouse. Okay. Remember that the positions in your array start at what number?
0.
Okay, let me make this size a bit better so I can actually put there. Damn it.
Oh, it's minus 1 because they start at 0. So
Because it's 0, 1, 2, 3. Num stalls is going to be pointing to 0 to start off with. When you add a stall there, so we add slaughterhouse here,
slaughterhouse.
and then num stalls will then move to the next position, which is there. But now the animal we add should be from position 0, not from position 1. So it's minus 1 of where we are as far as number of stalls is concerned.
Yeah, it's an extra unit.
Yeah. So it's always just the one after, because then when we add greenhouse, num stalls will fall there, and then all the animals that are added after that would need to be position 1 of there. Now,
greenhouse.
it's one of the other stalls. Greenhouse. Here's the other stall.
Okay.
And then the other one is test tube 3. Now, are you saying green like a pig? Now, this is a very difficult concept actually to fully grasp, because I'm sending through, I've got an array here, and I'm actually sending through this array to add animal, or through to another class. So now I'm literally here, animal has a field of stall, which stall it is in. But there's an array of stalls as well. What on earth is happening here? Now, imagine if this is RAM, right? And we have our farm, which has an array of stalls, right? So there's a stall slaughterhouse, and this has got a size of 400, and it's got a fence height of 1.5.
Question, how do you automatically resize? Because it irritates me when you do it, because I don't know how you do. You just double click.
Or,
Like if you type too much in one line.
oh, I double click in between the lines here,
Oh,
and that will go through.
There's a wrap.
I actually don't know if I'm recording. I don't know if I'm actually recording my cursor. So for the sake of posterity, I'm going to record the cursor, and hopefully this will record the cursor. I'm hoping that I haven't accidentally taken the screen area that I'm capturing off because I followed the mouse for a second. Anyway, hopefully not.
So the red little flashing lights in the corner.
Huh?
The red little flashing lights on the recording screen.
Yeah, that what we're meeting. Yeah. So hopefully it's because there's a setting on. Okay, there's a setting. Okay. Now, so we've got slaughterhouse, we have greenhouse, and we have test tube or whatever. Now, this is 1001 and 0.3, something like that. Now, in this scenario, farm has got this stored in position. Technically, the farm class has an array, and the array literally is position 0, 1, and 2 are populated, and it will refer to B2, B3, and B4. Do you guys get that? Whereas, for example, if I created in my farm, let's go back to my farm, if I said in my farm class, I created a field here called private int, that's not how you spell private,
Private.
That's private.
int total size, which will be the total size of the farm. If I had a total size and I worked through it, it's an integer, it's a data type, so the field total size, and then let's say if I said total size equals 7,000, okay? So that's the total size of the farm. That actually physically stores the 7,000 directly into that reference. Whereas here an array would just be pointing to this location. Does that kind of make sense? Now, when I deal with it as a parameter, and now I've said here send through as a parameter stalls num small stalls -1, what I'm doing is I'm saying send through B2. So now when I've got an animal, and my animal, for example, my first animal I think is, who's my first animal in my text file? Let's just use this example as being Bob the baboon, and then it's Sheldon the tortoise. So literally, when I create, damn it. So when I do this, what I'm doing in RAM is I'm actually just saying Bob the baboon, size, whose weighs 60 kgs, and then for this stall, all I send through is B2. Does that make sense? And when I send through now Sheldon, the I don't know how to spell tortoise.
It's a tortoise.
You're gonna spell it like an Irishman.
Okay. And then weighs 40, and again, I'm just sending through B2. So when you send through an integer value like 60 and 40, you literally, when it's a data type, it will actually, like, so if I send through total size to this, it would, if I sent that through as a parameter, it would just send through 7,000. But when you send through an actual class, it just sends through the reference to it. So you're not overloading RAM. It's not just creating multiple instances of every animal that's in that stall. I mean, imagine if there were 100 animals in that stall. It's literally just says it's referring to one individual instance because there's an array with it, and that instance, a pointer stored in the array in farm, and when you refer to the animal to that stall, you're just referring to B2. So here inside my animal class, and it says there stall home, that just refers to the stall in which it is, which the same thing happens from our array of stalls here. So we're not creating duplicate entities of it, we're just creating one entity, and we're just creating two locations which point to the same entity, or the same object. Sorry, I shouldn't use the word entity, it's an object. Now, moving on from that, this now will work, won't it? This will add it to the array. We've now got a toString. I'd already coded the two strings, although it's technically coded very incorrectly because it should be.
The GUI. It's just the same
I know,
thing
run
we
this.
did yesterday.
Now,
You just used the GUI we did yesterday.
now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have to deal with a little bit of problem solving, and in this case we're going to deal with the same GUI as we did yesterday. Now what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to deal with creating the methods we need. Now, if we take a look at our GUI plan, I need to maximize this so we can actually see it. If we take a look at our GUI plan, we've got a whole bunch list of stalls here, there, and we've got a whole bunch of animals there. And then when you click on an animal, we want to show the animal here and the stall that it's in over here. When you click on a stall, okay, you guys get the idea. And you also want a clear selection button somewhere as well, but we'll get to that. Now, once you have sort of got a rough idea of what you want, you can plan your GUI layout. So let's work with our GUI layouts, and then we'll add code in our working to get it to work. So let's first start with our GUI layout. Let me minimize this first. Now, in your GUI layout, it's actually easier if it points more direct. In our GUI layout, GUI design, here it's working. We want to first get our mainframe working. Now, what you noticed is on the left-hand side there was a list there, and there was a list on the right-hand side, and in the middle there was information about my stall, and I wanted a picture on the middle side. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the layout to start off with as a border layout. And remember, a border layout means that it has north, east, south, west, right? So I'm going to create the one on the west side, a panel on the east side, and a panel on the center side, which means my panel on my west side will not change. The panel on my east side will not change, but only the panel in the middle will get bigger. Does this make sense? So that's kind of the way it will work. I'm going to also create a border on it just so we can see it easier. I have no idea what this is going to look like, but let's put this as a bevel border, and let's put this as an edge border. Okay, just so we can see it clear. Now on the left hand side, I'm wanting to display the, if we take a look back at my planning, on the left hand side, you'll see there I want stall, I want stalls, and then I want the label, then I want buttons at the bottom. And this kind of works on a border layout as well, doesn't it? Because stalls, the text stalls, you don't want to get bigger, do you? But the list here you want to get bigger, and this doesn't want to get bigger. So here we can work with border layouts again. We can go and we can say, okay, let's set this to a border layout. So set layout to border layout. Oh no, it disappeared. So you double click on it so you can manage it specifically. And we can then put a text area at the top which is going to say stalls. I can manipulate it with the properties on the side here, so I can make the text bigger, so let's say to 18. And I also want it to be horizontally aligned to the center. I then want a list box, and remember, add your center component last, because at the bottom we want a whole bunch of buttons. So we're going to put a panel at the bottom, because we're going to be adding a few things into here later, and in the middle we're going to be having a list. So I add the list. And there we go, my stalls section is nicely set out, isn't it? So I thought about it first, I then added it. Simple. Now, I go back into my main view. That's already starting to look more like I want, right? And if you guys go to the preview, you'll notice that when I maximize it, this stays the same size. The only thing that gets bigger is the central component, which is what we want. Now we need to work with our right-hand side. And if we take a look at our planning, which we've done on pen and paper beforehand, and remember during your phase 2, I'm wanting you to already have designed the GUI. Again, it's the exact same layout as the stalls, with the text at the top and then the thing.
It looks so retro.
It's freaky.
It looks so bad.
Okay, now what I'm going to do now.
Sorry, so this is going on YouTube.
Yeah, yes. Anyway, so now on the right hand side, I want to set this layout to border layout. Again, it's gonna make it disappear. So I just double click on the panel so I can work with it. I make it bigger. At the top, we want a text box, a label. Again, we want to change the size of it. We want it to be centered. We want it to be size 18. Okay, and it should read, what should it read again?
Animals.
Animals, thank you. Okay, now animals, and then at the bottom we want a panel where we're going to add the whole bunch of buttons, and in the central we want a list box. Fail. I want a list box. Where's the list box gone? List, add. Okay, in the panel I'll work with later. The buttons that we want to add. Or should I quickly add it now? I'm going to make this a flow layout. And again, it's disappeared, so I double click on it if I want to work with it. I'm going to change the flow layout here. I click on it, and I want it to be aligned to the right, and I want a decent gap between components. I'm going to say a gap of 20. horizontal, vertical 10. So you can stipulate the gap between objects you can have. This is in a grid layout, border layout, or anything. Like you can say between the different things that are in this entity, how big a gap do you want? So you check now for add button, button, button. I'm going to have 3 buttons. Actually, I'm even going to make it 4 because I like 4 buttons. I'm going to have edit text, add, edit, delete, clear, selection. Oh yeah, so now if I look at my frame now, whoa, freaking me out, man. I think that buttons is too much. So what I'd potentially do,
Make the button big flatter.
this flow layout doesn't work well. Yeah, I could make it flatter, but I'm actually going to change my layout here. I'm going to set my layout to a grid layout, and bear with me on this. Grid layout, and I'm happy with this because it'll show you different layouts of it. So one, this is already going to look better because it's now closer together and it's got more of a concept there. So my whole 20 gap was a bit crazy. But I'm actually going to make it 2 columns, 2 rows. I'm going to make a 10 horizontal gap and a 10 vertical gap. I'm then going to make it so it's a little bit bigger. I'm then going to go back to my frame and take a look at it there. Hey, sometimes guys, please do not anybody ever complain about GUI here. Otherwise, I'm going to make you code your GUI. And trust me, coding your GUI takes you a lot longer. But it is fun. You can be more specific about entities and stuff. But so if you do want to code the GUI, I'm not going to turn you away on that. But
I'll make you code it as punishment. But if you want to do it for fun, no, I won't hate. But
some people might like that kind of thing.
Grant.
Okay, edit text, add.
Dude, I can't even. I don't even know how to make it. I do the first part and I'm done with the cycle test.
Now the next part of this clear.
I can make that grid out also.
Now, yeah, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to set the layout to this as being grid layout. I'm going to do the exact same thing as far as the layout is. I'm going to make it 2 columns, a gap of 10, 2 rows, a gap of 10. Okay, and then so it will look pretty similar on both sides. And now when I maximize it, you'll see it will look pretty decent, I think. Okay,
Priority.
so you guys have to plan your design, your layouts, and all that kind of stuff. Now, from here, we know we're reading it in, and on the central panel is the next part we're dealing with. So now I'm going to go back to looking crazy and not knowing my left from my right, because it's very weird looking yourself at the screen and trying to figure out which way that you should put the thing. But if we look at our central panel, it's 50-50 between the stall and the animal. Now on this side here, that's a picture of the stall and a picture of the animal. I'm going to discuss the picture components just now. And over here is the text information about the stall that you've selected or the animals that you've selected. Now, the next part that we're going to have to do here, I want to split this into 50-50. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to set the layout to this to be grid layout, and I'm going to set the grid to be rows 2, and I'm going to make a vertical gap of, let's say, 10. And I'm going to make columns 1. So now when I add something, it's going to literally split it 50-50. First panel I add is going to be added to the top. Second panel I add will be added to the bottom. So now I have a panel at the top, a panel at the bottom. Again, if you want to be able to see it a bit better, you just go to the properties, give it a border. I'm going to give it a line border. Etched. What about a titled border? I want to make a titled border. Titled borders are fun. Because the one is stall. Font. I want to make the font 18. And I want it to be center. Okay. So stall. I want to make this border title border, and it's going to be animal. How big did I make the text for stall? 18. And I want to make it centered. Okay. So now it's going to have a stall and animal here, and then now we have to deal with this with regards to the items 1 in there. I'm going to zoom in on it so I can specifically work with the stall. On the left-hand side, we want an image. Now, I know a lot of people want to make the images very specific sizes. You want to be able to manipulate it, etc. And we want the image on the right-hand side, and we want details of the stall on the left of that, and then on the right you want information about it. Here's the thing. I'm not wanting you to if you are wanting to deal with the actual object resizing the image. In other words, I'm just going to show you how to add it to a label and make that the icon there. I'm not going to show you how to directly deal with it otherwise. If you're wanting to make it so it will stretch and expand and contract the image as you want, that's quite difficult. And quite frankly, I'm not going to go through that with all of you or any of you actually. And if you are wanting to do that, it's up to you to Google. Here's like some information I found on about it and how to get that done. But if you want to do that, it's your baby, not mine. Right now, what I suggest you do is you'll see inside my working class, I created a folder called animals and I created a folder called stalls. I haven't done the animals yet, but I put the greenhouse, the slaughterhouse 2, and the test tube pictures in there. And what I would do is I'd resize the images so it works well with a maximized frame. So no matter what, I don't have to manipulate the image, the actual code too much, because I created images to be the correct size according to that component. Does that make sense? Yes, no? So I didn't actually convert these images, so quite frankly they're just going to be added and they're going to look weird, but that's not the point of this tutorial. Again, I'm wanting this to be split 50-50. I want the image on the left-hand side, and then I want the information about the stall on the right-hand side. So to split something 50-50, what layout do I use? Grid layout, and I make it 1 row by 2 columns in this case, so I want a 50-50 that way. I want to make a horizontal gap of 10, a vertical gap, it doesn't really matter. And on the left-hand side, I want an image. So that's going to be my first object there. This is going to be the image. I'll get into that now. And then what I want is I want a panel on the other half, which I'm going to then be adding the information about the stall. So in this image, I'm going to edit the text to be nothing, but just so we can see how it works, I'm going to go to the icon and I'm going to select a file. So now, first of all, under which package?
So this is so complicated.
What is?
GUI.
It is slightly. Okay, by the looks of it, I've got to. I created my images in the wrong location. You'll see that it only picks up files directly, which are inside my Pac-Man class. So I'm going to move my folders, animals and stalls. Whoa! Don't press Windows key. Animals and stalls across to my Pac-Man folder, so it's inside here. And now we're just going to see if this will work better now. So now if I go icon, I should be able to then select, there we go, pacman.stalls, and then I can select the image from there. I'm going to choose a greenhouse for the test. So you'll see the image just displayed at the bottom, and then it puts the image inside that icon.
Why are there pigs living inside of residential homes?
Because it's funny. Anyway, on from there, I can put other information as far as the stalls are concerned in here. Now, what information do we need from the stall?
Size?
Okay, so first of all, it's got a name, doesn't it? So we can plan this layout a bit better. I didn't. I just, if you guys take a look at what I wrote there, I just drew a squiggle, squiggle, squiggle. So, but you guys can plan that a bit better. You can choose, okay, I want the name, then I want this, that, the next thing. Plan it properly. I'm not going to. I'm just going to literally have. I'm going to assume this is going to be where the name's going to be put. This is free design. Free design is probably the quickest one to work with, and I'm going to make it font size 14, and I'm going to make it bold, and I'm going to make it central aligned. And because my my text is going to deal with this, so I'm going to put their stall name for now. But because I'm going to override this with whatever stall the user selected, I'm going to have to. The code is going to have to pick this up. So I'm going to rename it to label stall name, because I know that. And generally speaking, every single action element, in other words, any element that is being edited by code, you must name. Do you guys get this term? For your pat, you must name any element you have to refer to in code.
Yeah.
If you lose marks, there's marks given for that. Now, so stall name, what else do we need? We want the size, don't we? So we want the size of the stall, so I can put here edit text size, ;, space. I'm going to make this also size 14. I'm going to make it bold. Okay, and then on the right hand side of that, I can put another label where I'm actually going to put the stall size in. Now, interestingly enough, the stall size here is 400. 400 what?
Square meters.
Yeah, so what you could do is you could, just bear with me, is I could say here and make this a. Damn it.
400 square meters is pretty big for a house.
It is pretty, it's very big. But it's a farmhouse.
So how so?
It's just still. Okay, anyway, so now we've got the next one, and that includes top floor and bottom floor, 400 square meters. Anyway, now, again, you'll see there that this should be then m to the 2. So potentially what I could do is make this 14. So you see I've got, out of these 3 text fields that are there, which is the only one that is actually going to be manipulated by code? Anybody? Nobody? You're just all ignoring me? Ooh, I want to be able to zoom in on the GUI, but I can't. Damn it. So, but do you guys see that that says meters squared? I think I need to change my font sizes a bit. So you see that says meters squared, but very badly. Anyway, this is the only label, guys. Please keep quiet. Now, this is the only label which is going to contain actual stuff that we're going to be generating from the code. So we're going to change it to LBL size, or actually I should call it LBL stall size, because it's just to keep to naming conventions. What's the other thing that we have? We have fence height, don't we? So we could put another label. We could duplicate this exactly. Oh, hello. We want exactly the same thing. So I would suggest you just highlight them all. You copy. Well, there's also the squared. We don't need the squared because it's just meters. Paste, and then you can just move down. And in this case, this is going to be fence size, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're going to put here, and this here I'm going to change the variable name to, instead of stall size, stall fence height. And done. So now that's our stall component done. We go back to our frame, and you'll see that it will look much better, doesn't it? And there's an example image of the stall there, and obviously when you maximize it, it will look much better. But there's example stall at the moment. The image is there because I want to show you how to code it. The animal, I would do the same thing. I'm not going to do that right now. Do you want me to do that quickly? Get it done properly. I'm going to pause the video though because there's no need to record that. Okay, so to copy paste, we want this exact same layout down here. It's actually quite easy. It's a grid layout 2x2. So I highlight both of them, right click, copy. I then go to my panel. I make sure that the layout is the same. So make it a grid layout. We could even maybe potentially copy that. I haven't tried that. And it's going to be 2, it's going to be 10, it's going to be 10. So now the layouts of this panel is the exact same. Now if I paste directly, bam, it looks the exact same. The only difference is now is we obviously would want a different thing in here. We no longer want stall name. We should call this variable LBL animal name. And in this case, size. It's no longer size. What has the animal got? What has he got? Not size. What has he got?
Animal is weight.
It has weight, but what else? Type.
Yeah.
It has type, and it has?
It measures type in meters. What type of pig is it?
Weight.
2 meter pig.
Okay, so now we don't need this meters, all this meters squared. So I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to delete the squared part. And I'm going to rename this to, I can make that thing a bit bigger. I want to change this to LBL animal type. And I'm going to change the stall name to change variable name I already did, animal name. Okay, and for my weight, it's not in meters, it's in, what is it in? kgs. And we change the name of this to LBL animal weight. Okay, now the big question is, how do I get this in from my working class? Ooh, challenging. And this means we're going to have to create methods because we've automatically remembered that we've read it in from RAM. We read it in from the text file into RAM, right? And now I want to add it into the stalls and the other component. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4, and item 5 has been added to the stall. So we go to our source code, we go down to generated code. And you take a look there. This is items we're going to be working with in our GUI. And what did I say about any item we're going to be working with in our GUI? It needs to be named. So every single action element in your GUI has to have a name. In this case, this is list stalls, and our other list is called list LST animals. Now you guys will be designing this without doing any actual coding yet. I'm just showing you the coding as well, so you guys can start thinking about it properly when you're designing it.
Why is the animal like this?
Because I haven't actually downloaded any animal pictures yet. So it's a house for now. I haven't downloaded a picture for Bob and all of them. Now, in this case, and also realize this is just the example data when I actually would want this to be empty, but I put it in there just so you guys can see how. Let me start again. I am now going into generated code to figure out how the lists was added, right? I'm going to, when I get to the picture components, I'm going to look at the actual generated code to see how a picture was added. I'm then going to work backwards and then add the picture. It's an easy way to solve out how to work GUI and Netbeans. No, but now how are we going to add it through code? In other words, when you click on this animal, it must display a picture of that animal. When I click on that stall, it must display a picture of that stall. So it has to be in working code that I have to actually add this image, not through GUI. Now, yes, we could clear it and add item and loop through it, etc. That's one way of doing it. You can do it like that. There's multiple ways to add items to the list, and it's your choice how you solve it. I'm just showing you one way that you can deal with stuff when you're not too sure how to deal with it. And if you take a look here, list works with something called a model. Now you actually have to add it to the model. You can't just directly add it to the list. JLists are a bit more confusing because you can add them as objects and blah blah blah. It's quite a bit of a more item to this. But if you take a look, this is how stalls were added in there. I'm going to copy this directly from the generated code. I'm then going to go into my my GUI elements here. So let me zoom in. So again, I went down to my generated code. I looked for what the list, how it added it, and you see it said set model, and it then added a string array called strings to the model. So all I'm going to be doing is inside my public void, let me call it populate list, sorry, stall list. Let me just say populate stalls, plural. I'm going to paste it into there. But now instead of wanting this string's item 1, item 2, item 3, what are we wanting here? We're wanting the list of our stalls. Please button up your shirt. Now, that's just weird. So now, the first thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to actually create an instance of your working class, aren't we? So we're going to say farm fman. Now, I'm going to make this private because I can. Now, inside fman, remember we need to initialize our fman. So we're going to go fman is equal to new fman, sorry, farm. And remember, I threw an exception. The reason why I didn't initialize it up here is because I threw an exception here, so I need to handle it. So in my constructor, I'm now directly going to handle the exceptions. So I'll then have a sir error in constructor, full colon, space, plus ex. Guys, don't forget to do this, otherwise you will not pick up any of your errors. It will just not work and you won't know why. I'm also going to do one to the user.
What I thought was 2.
Okay, now, if we go on from there, yeah? Got it. Now, the next thing that we've got here, fman is equal to new farm, so it's going to initialize the farm. And in this case, we now want to get an array. Now, if we take a look at our farm class, what do we need to do? We need a string array of stalls, don't we? So all I need to do is I need to create a method which will return a string array of the name of stalls that we got. So in my working class, it's easy. I go public string array get stalls. And all this is going to do is it's going to create a string array called s is equal to new string array. And what size is this? Num stalls. So that's going to create an array of size stalls, sorry, of size the number of stalls. And all I'm going to do is now loop through my array, my num stalls. Sorry, let me just do it rather the easier way, 4 tab. And I'm going to loop through my num stalls. And all I'm going to do, so let me just return it because I hate having it read underlines, is I'm going to go s position I is equal to stalls position I dot get name. So literally it's going to go through every single stall that we've added, add it to a string array, which is of the same size as the number of stalls we got, and return that string array. And then here, in my actual GUI, all I need to do is, instead of having strings is equal to item 1, item 2, item 3, I just go fman.get stalls. Done. Then this, when I populate stalls, will now populate the physical stalls. So inside my GUI, or my constructor, after I've initialized my fman, I can just run populate stalls. And later, when I've done other code, I might just need to rerun the method populate stalls. Whenever I need to update stalls, I just run the method populate stalls. Which all that does is it resets up my list, and it gets each of the stall names from my file manager, or my farm manager class. Are you guys following this? Am I making sense? Half past. Now,
Can I just know and get changed for
if I run this now and I click OK, you'll see that the stalls are there: slaughterhouse 2, greenhouse, and test tube 2. Guys, quiet. Now, test tube 3. Now, you guys get that there's now 3 different stalls in there, but now we need to make it so that when I click on it, it will populate the data here. Now, how am I going to do that? Firstly, I know that when I select on a stall, I know the name of that stall. I then need to retrieve all the information of the stall. 1, the image name; 2, the stall name, the size, and the fence size. I'm thinking at this point, with us only having 5 minutes left of the lesson, let me just try to get the image part correct. So we know we're going to need a method in our farm.
We don't even have more images. Is that the only image we have?
No.
I'm sure there's other images.
I've got 3 images in there. For each stall I've got an image, just not for the animals. So now in this case, I'm going to go public. We know that we need to return a whole bunch of information. So I'm going to create a method firstly to say set selected. I could actually create a method called public stall get stall string name. And what this is going to do is it's literally going to receive the name of the stall and return the whole entire stall with that name. Do you guys get this? So if I go for tab, I go up until num stalls. I then say if stalls position I dot get name dot equals ignore case, or actually just equals, I don't need to ignore case, name. If it is equal, I just return stalls at position I. If it goes through this whole entire loop and does not find it, I'm then just going to have to return null. Do you guys get this? But no matter, stop rocking my chair, please. Now,
I didn't know how it was rocking.
now on here, you'll see that this will return the stall of that name. So now in my GUI, I need to listen to when the user selected a stall. I then need to find the name of that, and then I need to work with it. So the first thing we need to do is we need to have a list select. We need to do an action. Now the action that we're looking for lists is list selection value change, meaning the user has changed the value that has been selected through either way, through their keyboard, their mouse, whatever. They have changed what it is there, and in which case we want to run a method. I'm going to call that method stall selection. Do not never code inside here, guys. It makes life a lot more difficult for you, and also for me as a marker or anything else. So we're going to create another method. We're going to call public void stall selection. Now, what we've got in this, for example, let's say if you just added a new stall, automatically after you add a stall, you might want to have that stall selected for the user. That's what made it public. So when we have another frame where we add a stall, we click add a stall, we then maybe want to have that one selected. So here I can have stall is equal to fman dot get stall. But we need to send through the name of the stall. How are we going to get the name of the stall? We need to get what the user has selected, right? Now here's the tricky component. This list allows you to select multiple items. So the first thing I would do is I would actually limit my list and say that here it's got a selection multiple intervals. I would change it to single. So we force the user to only allow to be able to select a single list items. As far as you know, you have a mark in your guys' code that says error handling and whatnot. If I am able to select multiple stalls and yours doesn't handle it, there's an error. Does that make sense? Whereas if you had only a single selection, I'm not able to select multiple stalls. So you either have to be able to deal with it when the user selects multiple stalls. Now there's a way of dealing with it. You can get the list as an array, and you can then blah 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 blah. But in this case, do we want to do that? No, we only want them to be able to select single stalls. So we just stay there, select single. So we know that they're going to be selecting a single stall. Stall, I'm going to call this S is equal to that. I'm then going to go. Carl, please stop playing with the bottle. Now we're going to go here. We're going to say if. So we're going to go. The list has got a name. So list stalls dot get selected index. Now selected index. Now here's the interesting thing. There's a selected value and there's a selected values. They've deprecated selected values for various reasons, but selected value we're still able to. And we know that the model that's there is a string model. The model, we added a string array, so I can just plus and convert it directly into a string. Oops, my insert's on, sorry. I can directly just convert it to a string, and then I can go string stall name is equal to that, and then I could say get stall name. So now we know we've populated S with the stall. But now what we want to do is we want to populate the label LBL and stall name. We want to set text to be s.getName. Just wait for a second, please, guys. LBL stall size. We want to set text to be s.get size. LBL stall fence height dot set text. We want to be s.get fence height. We convert them into strings. We will then run our program, and when I click on slaughterhouse, you'll see slaughterhouse 2 400 meter squares 1.5. I click on greenhouse 1000. Tomorrow's lesson we'll learn how to do the image there, and we'll finish off this program. Goodbye.